Hey guys! So today I'm going to be filming the first part of my 2017 wrap-up. I'm going to start doing my wrap-ups just like every 10 or so books instead of doing monthly wrap-ups. This might change sometime during the year. But Connor from Connor O'Brien does his wrap-ups like this, and I think it's a really sufficient way to do it, because then if you don't have like a good reading month, you could just wait until you read enough books to do a wrap-up. And so far this month I've read like 15 things, I think. So I figured I'd wrap them up now, and then for the later half of the month or whatever, I'll do, or I read 13 things I think, but for the later half of the month then I'll just do another wrap up when I read enough books. So if I'm looking down, it's because I have a notebook. The first thing that I didn't finish reading this yet, but this is a reread for me, so I already know how I feel about it, and that's Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief. This is the first Percy Jackson book in the series. I've never read the whole series, I've only ever read the first book, and I already know what I'm gonna give it, and that's a 4.25 stars. I really like this book, but you know, sometimes it could be a little overwhelming. It's not like, I have certain expectations for this series and this didn't meet it, but like I still really love this book, so I gave it a 4.25 stars. Yeah, I'm sure you know what this is about, but in case you don't, in this world, the Greek gods had affairs with humans. Obviously that was the thing that happened, and so there's a camp for all of the children that have been made, and they're called half-bloods because they're half god, half human. And so Percy finds out that he's a half-blood, and yeah, he goes on a quest. It's really cool. It's a good book. The next book I read is a book of poetry, and that is She by Saul Williams. I heard about this poet Whitney from Witty Novels, and she talked about this in her Cramathon wrap-up. She talked about his other book of poetry, which I plan on reading later in the month, which is called Said the Shotgun to the Head, and that's all about like war and just like the issues with the world. This one is all about having a broken heart and just like relationships in general. I really loved it. I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars. Wasn't the best poetry collection I've ever read, but definitely a memorable one, and I look forward to reading more of this author's poetry. The next thing I read was The Gigantic Beard That Was Evil by Stephen Collins, and this is a graphic novel, and this is one of the graphic novels that I've heard like the most about on BookTube. It's just like so popular, and I got it on Book Outlet last month and I read it and I absolutely loved this. I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars because I don't know, I feel weird giving a graphic novel 5 out of 5 stars, but like it's just so good, and I've been thinking about it, and like the underlying themes in this are so good. The art style is really beautiful. Let me find a good one. It's like really weird, but I love it. So there's one, and this was on Book Outlet for like really cheap if you were interested in it. But it's basically about this guy who lives in where does he live? I think he lives here. There's like two settings. There's here, which is this little island, and there's there. And so he lives here, and in here everything's very proper. Nobody has facial hair. Everybody's very clean cut, shaven, and like they just always look nice. Everybody's perfect until one day the main character grows a beard that just won't stop growing, and so he gets sent to there, and it's really good. Highly recommend it. A+. The next book I read is The Reasons I Jump by Naoki Higashida. This is a book that's written by a boy who has autism, and it's written in the form of like question and answer, and there's also some short stories in here. I gave this book a 4.5 out of 5 stars because what's really sold it for me was the very last short story. It's like the very last thing in the whole book. It's called, let me see. It's called I'm Right Here, and I don't know, it just really touched me. I also learned a whole lot from this book, but there have been some issues with it, saying that some people don't believe that the boy wrote it completely by himself, that like that when it was translated, people like added stuff in that wasn't supposed to be there, and that there was just like a lot of controversy surrounding this book, but I did really enjoy it. I feel like I learned a lot from it, and I gave it 4.5 out of 5 stars. The next thing I read was So good. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, and that's Paper Girls Volume 2. This graphic novel, I don't even know how to explain it, but the art style is so good. I love it so much. And I don't even know, if you like Stranger Things, you're gonna like this. It's very similar. This is the second volume. I think there's only 2 volumes out right now. But this is the same guy that wrote Saga, so if you liked Saga, definitely give this a try. It takes place during the 80s. It's all female cast. It's just amazing. Highly recommend it. Check it out. The next thing I read that I actually own is Avatar: The Last Airbender, The Rift. This is the 3rd graphic novel that I read. I feel like I might have wrapped this up in my December wrap-up. That's a possibility. But I liked this. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars, obviously, because, you know, it's Avatar: The Last Airbender. That's the only thing you can do. And this one, you find out what happens with the relationship with Toph and her parents, and you also see a softer side of Toph. She's like, falls in love, which is pretty cool. It was really good. Love these comics, so check them out if you liked the show. Okay, so everything else I don't own. I borrowed from the library. I've been borrowing a lot from the library recently, so I'm just gonna put pictures up of what the covers look like. You get the drill. So the next thing I read it on my Kindle actually, and that is The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath. I gave this 4.5 out of 5 stars. That was like my average rating for the month. I gave everything 4.5 out of 5 stars because everything was really good, but it wasn't like that 5 out of 5 star that I'm looking for. But this book it wasn't what I expected it to be. I mean, I don't really know what I expected, but like, it wasn't what I expected, but I still really, really enjoyed it. I do plan on reading Belzar by Meg Wolitzer soon, because I know that has a little bit of a parallel to The Bell Jar. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And I just randomly picked this up one day. Like, I think I was at the car dealer waiting for my car to get fixed, and I finished the book that I brought with me, so I just like went on my phone and picked a random book off my Kindle. And so I read The Bell Jar, and it was really good. I don't know how to explain it, but it was good. It was really sad, but it was really good. The next thing I read was another, like, it's not a graphic novel. It's like a book of art almost. It's called Sweater Weather. I forget who the author is, but this was really fun. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 stars. I loved the art style. And this was like little like comics, I guess. They were like little short stories of like a few panels. It was really nice. I liked it a lot. The art style was really cute. It was like blue and purple, which is like my favorite. So loved that. The next book I read was American Born Chinese, and I forget the author of this one too, but I read this one at the library. Like, I read this one, The Gigantic That Was Evil, and Sweater Weather all on the same day in like 3 hours. So that was good. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars because I really, really liked it. It was very surprising. I remember I picked it up because I remember I heard a lot about the name. Like, I've heard the name of the book before, but I don't remember like what anybody said about it, so I just started reading it, and I really liked it. It was really weird, but it was really good. This is about, there's like 3 storylines, and then they all come together at the end in like a way that you like really don't expect them to. So that was cool. The next thing I read was so good. I read Scott Pilgrim Volume 1, and my best friend has been telling me to read the Scott Pilgrim graphic novels for like literally forever. And I read volumes 1 and 2, and I gave them both 5 out of 5 stars because they were so freaking good. I loved this, like, I loved the dialogue. It was so like funny and like sarcastic, and it's just like everything I love. I'm really interested in watching the movie once I finish reading all of the books. I requested them all from the library. I'm still waiting on 3 and 4, but I got 5 and 6. So once I get 3 and 4, like, you'll probably hear about that in my next wrap up, but they were so ding dang good. This is about Scott Pilgrim, and he lives in an apartment with his friend. Maybe it's his brother, I don't know, but his roommate is gay, and they make fun of him all the time for being gay, which I think is funny. Like, it's like a joking, like, friendly way, not like a harassment way. And so they live in like this really tiny apartment, and it's like they share a bed, like it's the worst. And so Scott starts dating this 17-year-old, even though he's like 20 something. He starts dating this high schooler, and she like falls in love with him, and then he meets this girl, Ramona Flowers, and then he's like, oh my god, I need to date this girl. And so he tries to break up with the 17-year-old. Her name is Knives. Funny. Hilarious. And so Knives like falls in love with him, and then he breaks up with her, and then she like tries to attack Ramona. And then Scott, to keep dating Ramona, Scott has to fight off all of her evil ex-boyfriends, and I think there's even a girlfriend, so that's really cool. I really like it. I read the first 2 volumes. They were really good. Highly recommend if you haven't read them. And then the last thing that I read is The Strange Library by Haruki Murakami. That was my first Murakami book. I loved it. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. It was so weird. It was such a strange story, and there was really strange illustrations, but it was so good. I went to the library today and got 2 more of his books. I also have IQ 1Q 84. I got that from the library when I got The Strange Library, but everybody said that you should not start with 1Q84, and you should also read 1984 by George Orwell, which I haven't, so I should do that first before I read that one. But yeah, I love Murakami. I'm like obsessed with Japanese lit right now. It's so dang good. And so yeah, this was about a boy who goes to the library to look up books, and so the librarian tells him to go down to room 107, and so he goes to room 107, which is in the basement, and he asks for these books, and then there's a creepy old man in there, and he gets him his books, and then he takes him into like this weird maze farther into the basement and locks him in a jail cell and tells him that until you memorize all of these books, I'm not letting you out. And so he locks him in there, and then there's this weird sheep man, and there's this girl that's like not real, but she is real, and like she's not real in the sheep man's world, but she's real in like the boys' world, and it's just really interesting. So it's all about all of them trying to escape from the library, and it was really strange, but I really enjoyed it. Like I said, I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and I think that's a good place to start with Haruki Murakami. But like, I don't know, I've never read any of his books, but like I don't feel like super confused or anything, but it was really good. So yeah, those are all of the things that I have read so far this month. I'm filming this on the 14th of January. I have read 13 things, I think, in 14 days. That's kind of insane. But they're all pretty much graphic novels. I am currently reading a few other books, but you will see that in my next Friday reads, which should be up very soon. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Leave me a comment down below recommending any Japanese literature. If you have read any, I would love to hear your recommendations, because I'm like really obsessed with it right now. I just love it. So yeah, give this video a thumbs up if you haven't already, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye!